Very good morning, student. This is the lecture of object oriented programming using C++, and we have started our second chapter, that is classes and object. Before going to start today's session, we will revise the previous session. In the previous session, we have studied the array of objects and object as a function argument. So what is array of object means? When we create number of objects of the same class using the same object name, then it is known as the array of objects. And when we pass object as a function argument, then by using the member function, we can pass the object as a argument. So this is about the previous session. Today we will start the new subpoint, that is constructor. So first we will see the outcome of this session. After completion of this session, you can define the constructor, you can explain the constructor, you can write the types of constructor, and you can write the program using the constructors. So first we will see what is constructor. So see here, a constructor is a special member function which is used to allocate memory space and values to the data members of that object. So constructor is a special member function and which is used to allocate the memory space and value to the data members of the object. Whenever an object is created, the constructor will be executed automatically and initialization of data member takes place. When we define any member function, then if we want to use that function, we have to call that function by using the object name. But this constructor is a special member function which executed automatically and it initializes the data members. It is called a constructor because it constructs the value of data member of the class. So why constructor is called as a constructor? Because it constructs the value of the data members, because it initializes the data members. A constructor is a member function that is automatically called when a class object is created. When we create object of any class, this constructor will automatically called. A constructor is a special member as it has the same name as that of the class and is automatically invoked whenever an object of that class is created. So why it is called as a special member? Because the name of the constructor and name of the class is same. So see here, constructor is a member function like put data, get data, display, calculate, like this. But the name of the constructor is same as the class name. So if we create the class student, then our constructor name is also student. Okay, so it is a special member, and when we create the object of that class, means student S, at that time this constructor student is automatically called. When we declare an object in the function main, what will happen? Okay, when we declare an object in a function, memory will be allocated, constructors will be called by the compiler automatically, and initialization of variables or data members takes place. So when we write the main function, that is void main function, in that first we declare the object, means we create the object like class name and object name, semicolon. After that, first memory will be allocated to that object. Suppose we have declared one object, then memory is allocated to that object. If we define the array of object, the memory will be allocated for that objects. Okay, then after that, compiler automatically call the constructors, and after calling the constructor initialize the variables. Okay, that is the data members. So it is not possible for us to initialize the data member in the class declaration itself, because at that point memory is not allocated for the object. So why we require the initialization of data members after creating the object? Because when we declare class, at that time we can declare the data members, also we can declare and define the member functions, but in at the time of class declaration the memory is not allocated for that object. When we create after creation of the class, when we create the object in the main function, at that time memory is allocated to the object. So at that time we can initialize the value. Suppose if we have written like a class name student, okay, and open bracket roll number equal to 1. So this is not allowed, because at the time of class declaration we cannot initialize the data members. If you want to initialize the value to the data members, we need to first create the object of that class. Now we will see the syntax rules for writing constructor function. So see here, it is also called as a characteristics of constructor. First one is a constructor's name must be same as the class name in which it is declared. It is the first very important rule for writing the constructor. The name of the constructor and name of the class must be same. It does not have any return value. So constructor doesn't return any value. So there is no need to write return type, that is data type, to the constructor. It is generally declared as a public member function. It may have protected access within the class, and only in rare circumstances it should be declared private. So generally the constructor is declared in the public member function. Why? Because we can access the data members and member functions of the class by using the constructor. Next, it can have default argument. Okay, we can in the next session we will see the types of constructor, and in that we can see the default argument. So in the constructor we can pass the default argument. It cannot be declared constant, variable, static or virtual. It cannot be referred by its address. Okay, it cannot be inherited like other member functions. Like any other member function we can inherit, means we can derive one function from the another function, but this constructor is not inherited. The implicit call are given to the operators new and delete when memory allocation is required. So when we required to allocate memory or deallocate the memory, the new and delete operators are implicitly called in the constructor. It is automatically called when an object is created. When object of that class is created, after that the constructor is automatically called by the compiler. It specifies how an object is created. So these are the some rules for writing the constructor function. Now we will see the constructor can also define either inside or outside the class definition. So how to define constructor inside the class and outside the class? First we will see the syntax of defining constructor inside the class. So see here, class keyword, class name, open bracket, public, class name. Why here class name? Because class name and constructor name must be same. So class name is taken here for the constructor name. Parameter list, okay, open bracket and body of the constructor. So this is, and here is a completion of class or end of the class declaration. This is the syntax for defining constructor inside the class. See here, we will see here example also. Suppose here we write the student. Now again here class name is also student, so constructor name must be a student. Here parameter list we can pass any parameters like integer, roll number, character name, etc. And here is the body of the constructor. Now see here the second syntax, which is syntax to define the constructor outside the class. Means just like a member function, we can define the member function inside class also and outside of the class. So same like that, here constructor is also defined outside the class. So class name, see the syntax, class name, public, here name of the constructor which is same as the class name, parameter list, and here is a completion of class. Here is just a constructor prototype, like a function prototype. It is just declaration of the constructor. And now just like a member function, first we have to write the class name, after that constructor name and parameter list, and in bracket we can write the body of the constructor. See here what is the difference. In the member function we have to write the return type of that function, just like void, integer, float, etc. At the time of defining the member function outside the class, here also we require the data types or return type here, but this is a constructor, so we need not write to return type. Okay, so class name, scope resolution operator, constructor name and parameter list, and here is the body of the constructor. So this is the syntax to define the constructor outside the class. Now see the example of constructor. Class with constructor. See here, class time is a class name. Here declaration of class. First we are declaring the data members, that is integer hour and integer minutes. Public time. Now time is a function, is a special function, that is it is a constructor, has the same name as a class name, like time is a class name also and constructor name also. Okay, time. And here is the closing of that class. Now here we are defining the constructor outside the class. So time is a class name, time is a constructor name, scope resolution operator, and here our equal to minute, equal to second, equal to 0. Here we are initializing value 0 to the all data members. Here we forgot to declare second queue. Okay, so here we are initializing 0 value to the hour, minute and second. So this is the definition of the constructor, and here we are defined constructor outside the class. Here we just declare the constructor, that is a prototype of constructor, and see here there is no any return type written here. So when a class is declared with the constructor as above, then object is created by the class will be initialized automatically. Okay, this is the defining the constructor. After creating the main function, when we create the object of this time class, like time t, after creating that object, this time constructor is automatically called, and all these three data members are initialized by the 0 value. Like for example, time t. Here object t is created, okay, and it initialized data members are minute, second to 0. There is no need to write any statement to invoke the constructor function. Okay, like normal function, if we want to call the normal function, we have to here write class name, object name, and after that object name dot that function name. Suppose here we have declared the display function. To call that function we need the t dot display, but this is a constructor, so no any statement is required to call that constructor. It is automatically called by the constructor, compiler. Now constructor call. So see here, for calling of a defined constructor, there are two ways, namely explicit call and implicit call. So we can call the constructor by explicitly or implicitly. If the name of the constructor is not used in the object declaration, the call is known as an implicit call to the constructor. Okay. If the name of the constructor is not used in the object declaration, the call is known as an implicit call to the constructor. While if the name of the constructor is used in the object declaration, the call is known as the explicit call to the constructor. So first see the explicit call. In this method, name of the constructor with the value of variable in the bracket are coming in the picture to construct the values. Name of the constructor is explicitly mentioned in the program, so this method is known as the explicit call of the constructor. For example, see here bank B1. So here bank is a class name, B1 is a object, and after that B1 equal to bank 12. Here this bank is a class name and this blank is what? The constructor, and here we are explicitly called the constructor B1 equal to bank 12. Now see the implicit call. It will not show name of the constructor in the program. Values of the variable get constructed at the time of object declaration. So here directly bank B1 in bracket we have passed the 50 value. So here bank is a class name and B1 is the object name, and we have passed the 15 values to that object. Why? Because it is an implicit call. There is no need to write again constructor name, that is a bank here. Okay, this is a explicit call and this is a implicit call. See the difference between the syntax. Bank B1, first we have declared the B1 object. After that B1 object we have assigned the value of what? Constructor to the object, and here directly we can write the class name, object name and parameter. This is the implicit call. So here is the program for calling of constructor implicitly and explicitly. So see here first class display. Integer a and b are the data members of the class display. Public display is a constructor. Why? Because the name of the class and function is the same. So this is the constructor, and here we are assigning the or initializing the variables a and b. So a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2. Now see out value of a and b is, we are displaying the value of a and b, that is 1 and 2. Here is the class end of class declaration. Now integer main, here see here display disp. Here we are creating the object disp of the class display, and this is the implicit call. Why? Because after creating this object, the constructor, that is this constructor, is automatically called. So after creating this constructor will be executed. Next, display disp1. This is the second object of the class disp1 equal to display. This is explicit because here we are writing the constructor name, calling the constructor explicitly. Here no need of calling the constructor because it is implicit, and again it will display the output a is equal a, value of a and b is 1 and 1 comma 2, return 0. See here the output, value of a and b is 1 2, value of a and b is 1 2. Why? Because first after creating the object, the constructor will be automatically executed. So here it will display the value of a and b is 1 comma 2, and after explicitly call of that constructor, it will again print the value of a and b is 1 and 2. So here the same sentence is printed twice. Why? Because we have called constructor implicitly and explicitly in this main function. Okay, see the program again to clearly understand the concept of implicit constructor call and explicit constructor call. So In the next session, we will see the types of constructor. Okay, in this session, we have seen the what is constructor, the characteristics or syntax to write the constructor, how to call the constructor, and there are two type of call constructor, implicitly call and explicitly call. So the assignment question for this session is what is constructor? Explain with example. So here explanation is for 2 marks and example is for 2 marks. Next, write the syntax of defining constructor inside as well as outside the class. So in this question you have to write the syntax for declaring and defining constructor inside the class and outside the class also.